the only thing that's going to satisfy them is to have meat. Hi, it's Monica. Today I'm sharing with you a video I created as my submission for the call out that Kerry from Homestead How did for his carnivore documentary. I had made my decision to create a carnivore channel. As you can see, I've changed that now, but I wanted to share with you my submission because it's basically my carnivore story. I'm still a carnivore, even though my channel has changed. I'm still a carnivore. I still eat carnivore because this is what's going to give me the stamina and mental health to continue on my journey to the biggest comeback. So I wanted to share with you how I became a carnivore. I've lightly edited the video. I was not planning on ever putting this on YouTube, so you're going to see that I'm looking down at my paper and then talking and then looking away, not looking in the camera, all those sorts of things in this video. It's not a video that I plan to put on YouTube, but I've decided, since it gives the whole story, rather than redo the video, I thought I'd put this version up because it's a very condensed version of my life and it gives you the best perspective on why I'm a carnivore and why it's still very, very important for me to keep being a carnivore. Thanks for watching, and please, while you're at it, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Stay tuned, it's coming up next. I am a carnivore, and this is my story. From an early age, probably around 9 years old, I began an eating disorder. There's a lot of trauma in my family growing up, and I was a binge eater. I never felt satiated. I was just always hungry and nothing ever satisfied me. But even then, one of the things I used to binge on was actually meat. So my mom would make a meat dish. I had 3 sisters, a brother, and 2 parents. And if there was any meat in the refrigerator the next day after we ate the night before, I would binge on that meat the next day. I would take the whole plate out of the refrigerator and eat the whole thing. I think my body was just always programmed to need meat. I was always hungry, and whenever I let my hunger go too long, then the emotional plus the hunger of not feeling satiated would lead me to binge. In 1991, I was living on Nantucket and I was bit by a Lyme tick. I've had Lyme disease since 1991. It was extremely, extremely debilitating. At that time, you could get a shot. Luckily, I had the ring, so I knew to get a shot, but it really didn't do anything to help me. So for years and years from that point, and my son was born the following year, and you know, I was always reading, oh, salads are going to make you healthy, eat pasta. I remember I did the Nantucket Ironman and everybody was training and everybody ate a massive amount of spaghetti the night before the race. I got to tell you that it almost ruined my race to have eaten that pasta. I could hardly make that last running leg to the finish line. Yet I continued to eat this way, not only because it was supposedly the best, healthiest way to eat, but because it was inexpensive. I was a single mom and I had to manage my finances, and I did that by eating a lot of pasta. In 2009, I discovered Mark Sisson, who wrote Primal Blueprint about the keto diet. And that was this huge eye-opener for me. I had moved away from Nantucket, and I remember clearly finding all this information. They had all these forums. I was going on the forums. The forums were so amazing because everybody would share their experiences. And it wasn't just him talking. He actually came to the town where I was living, and I went to hear him speak, and I got to meet him. That was the first time I realized that I was eating all wrong for me, you know? And I immediately switched. It was a absolutely brutal detox, absolutely brutal. It was so brutal that I actually went through the detox, and then I had a Herxheimer reaction weeks later, but I made it through that. As I started eating more and more this way, my symptoms from Lyme started to ease. They never went away, but they were definitely eased because I knew somehow that the pasta was causing some kind of inflammation. Now, I'm not a person that goes to the doctor, so everything I've done, in my life has been using reading and doing research myself. I've just always taken care of myself since I was a teenager. Like if I had any kind of illness through the Lyme disease, I never wanted to do any of the protocols that they were asking everybody to do because I wanted to find out what was right for me. Yeah, I did the primal blueprint for, so that was 2009. And then in 2011, I started experiencing massive face swellings. I didn't know what was wrong, but that was the beginning of another series of illness. I found myself, my face swelling, my hands swelling, but the face, the lips and everything, my whole face would swell up. And one of the things I found was coconut, so I just stopped eating coconut. And then in 2015, I had moved to Los Angeles. I'd gone to art school in 2012 in Savannah, Georgia. I went abroad to France, and really all they ate was pork there. I came back and I was so sick. I was just purging. And I thought, well, I better not eat pork anymore. I didn't know what it was. I'd lost a lot of weight. What happened was when I was in Los Angeles, I started researching all these things that were triggers for I was getting allergies. And I found this woman, and at the time she was the only person on the internet that was writing about it. She was writing about histamine intolerance. I did more and more research, started to do her diet. I eliminated, everything, all the vegetables that I was able to eat on the Primal Blueprint. I eliminated all of them, including avocado, all these things that everybody tells you is so healthy. And when I eliminated them, I just started eating meat and chicken. That's it. I eliminated everything else because it seemed like whether it was strawberries or whatever, just more blown up faces, everything else. And I did an elimination diet. The histamine diet asks you to do an elimination diet of white rice. Then you reintroduce any of the foods. And then if you have an allergy, then you just eliminate it because that means you have a histamine intolerance to it. But one day in 2016, I had gone to an event at one of the movie studios, and on the way back, the Uber driver said, have a Lifesaver if you want. There were, little packets of Lifesavers in the back pocket. So I took two and I ate one. And later on that evening, my face swelled up again. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. The only thing I ate today was the peppermint Lifesaver, or spearmint, I mean. And I looked it up. I said, oh my God, I think it has some kind of meat covering to make it glossy. And sure enough, that was what it was. So I started researching a meat allergy because I thought, maybe this is what it's been. This is what I've been eating this whole time is the meat. And maybe somehow I developed an allergy to it. Turns out my research led me to Johns Hopkins website where they had a forum on the Lone Star tick and the alpha-gal allergy. And I'd been on Cape Cod where there had been a huge influx of these ticks. I thought, oh my God, this is it. I can't believe it. I have an allergy to meat. And it said there was all these forums. They're no longer there because they've done enough research now. But in the forums, they were saying some people died, like Always Kerry, one of those, no, I forget what they're called, but you give yourself a shot. So if you get an allergy, you don't die from it, die from the swelling. The alpha-gal is sugar found in the tissues of mammals, not primates or humans, but mammals. So anything that was red meat would have this alpha-gal in it. And if you develop an allergy, the allergy could really kill you. I mean, it did kill people. But the most hopeful thing in the forum was that somebody said, I've recovered and I'm able to eat red meat again. And that gave me so much hope. But for years and years, I think until 2020, so that's like 4 years, I just ate chicken. That's it. Like chicken thighs, because chicken thighs with the skin and everything, because that was the only thing that I was able to be satiated by. So in 2020, that was the COVID lockdown, and I ended up, my son invited me to stay with him in Laurel Canyon, where he was living at the time, because he was like, oh, let's just do this together, because everybody was prevented from being out in the world. Spending time with him before he left was so happy. But what I ended up doing was I ended up baking a lot, because as a single mom when he was younger, I never got to be that mom that made comfort food for their son, for their child. So I sort of got off track there and was making a lot of comfort foods. Then I went to Nantucket. One of the important things to understand is that people feel really uncomfortable when you've lost weight, or when you are happy, or when your mental health is really good. And that's because of eating carnivore. And so all those things that are caused by carbohydrates and everything else come back if you don't stick to just eating carnivore. It's just a really hard thing. And it feels like someone's a food pusher. Like if you don't eat like that, that's like almost like you have to take my drug because I'm taking it. Like, I think that's a real issue when you're trying to be on this diet, which is helping you to thrive, that you have to be so strong and deny things that look so good, and how good they taste because you've had them before, and your taste buds are going and you crave it, but to say no to someone who know's cooked it is very, very hard. And I'm not making excuses for myself. I'm just saying these are the kinds of things that we as carnivores will confront and we'll have to be faced with. Then I ended up moving to another friend's house, and I ended up getting COVID. That was really devastating to me. I seemed to be fine, but then 6 months later, I ended up in the hospital with heart palpitations and was diagnosed with a heart disease. That happened in 2022. So in 2023, I found Dr. Chafee, his lecture, "Plants Are Trying to Kill You." And I was like, oh my God, it's a doctor. And he's saying like, this is what happens to you. And I loved all of the things he was saying. Eat until it doesn't taste good anymore. Lionesses don't stop eating until they're full. So this is where I am now. I'm eating carnivore, and my budget is very, very low. But I can tell you, even on a low budget, you can eat carnivore. Supermarket circulars are your best friend because they always have the best sales. You can eat carnivore. You don't have to worry that you don't have enough money, because the food, you will be satiated with what you eat. And what I love about what Dr. Chafee said, a lioness doesn't walk away from her food. She finishes her food and then goes to sleep. Sometimes I literally eat a 3-pound steak in one sitting. And this often happens when I put too much time in between my meals of steak. Like if I have eggs and chicken and everything, but nothing satiates me like being a carnivore does. And there's this thing called meat hunger. So meat hunger is something that actually exists, that people have this feeling the only thing that's going to satisfy them is to have meat. The best part of being a carnivore is my mental health. If I want the best state of mind, I eat carnivore. That's my story. Thank you for having the shout out and call back for everybody to share their stories. I'm really interested in hearing what everyone else has to say. Have a great day. Bye.